Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Steve Jones Show, News Radio 1070 WKOK. You can find us at stevejonesshow.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Twitter handle at SteveJonesPSU. Also, we invite you to subscribe to our Steve Jones Show podcast, available on both the Apple Podcast app, iTunes, and Google Play. And you can always find 3 months of shows archived at SteveJonesShow.com on our podcast page and on the podcast archive page. Sean Carey here, and Steve will be there in just a few in the Sunbury Motors Studio. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia on the Strip routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And our Monday edition of the Steve Jones Show, always brought to you by Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. And a week from Wednesday,
I know.
the Purdy tournament. You bet the countdown is on, ramping up now. Now that we have blue-white in the rearview mirror, now we can dial in on the great golf outing coming up next Wednesday. Adam Purdy, by the way, going to join us tomorrow. We'll get a tournament fundraising update from him tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to just being there. And by the way, they're going to have a reception. Some of the former Penn State players that will be there at Penn's Tavern on Tuesday night next week.
Yeah, asking for, I believe, a little donation, like a $10 donation, and there will be light snacks, refreshments. So that's a week from tomorrow night at Penn's Tavern. And I believe you do not have to reserve. Just show up and enjoy the evening, and hopefully it'll be a day like today.
And believe me, Trey Bauer will be there, so you're going to get stories. I mean, you will get stories.
Can you imagine if he would show up by boat? You know, there are people that do show up by boat to dine at Penn's Tavern.
Oh, I know.
Could you imagine Trey Bauer showing up by boat for a regal welcome to the one and only Trey Bauer?
For goodness sakes, he'd act as if it was Washington crossing the Delaware.
I know.
I mean, seriously.
Not to be confused with DiCaprio in Titanic, where he's on the edge of the boat with his arms stretched wide. I'm king of the world.
Well, that part probably isn't. That part's probably accurate. But yeah, we had a good time on Saturday. We're going to have Joe Susan on today, by the way, on the show. So looking forward to that. And we will play back the 3 interviews that we had on Saturday. We'll do it a little later in the show, which will be Stefan Wisniewski, Michael Robinson, and Keegan-Michael Key. So there you go. So we'll hear from them a little bit later in the show. That, by the way, you heard on Eagle 107 on Saturday. Yeah, good thing, Hey, look, I mean, if anybody has any questions about what they saw or about different players, personnel, whatever, I'm more than happy to take those questions and comments because, I mean, that was the 12th of the – I saw 12 of the 15, including Saturday. Now, you're asking why I wasn't at the other 3. I was at Marquette doing basketball for one, and I was at Madison Square Garden for the NIT for 2 others. So I think I had an excuse.
Yeah, I had a couple guys that were on my radar. I had a chance to watch the replay on Saturday night. Obvious, like everybody else, curious to see Micah Parsons get his first couple of reps out onto the field. And Journey Brown, the Meadville sensation. He had a decorated high school career, had one night for the ages during his high school days. So just curious to see Journey and a bunch of other guys you would not normally see get a lot of playing time in the fall, get their turn to shine out on the field there on Saturday.
Well, Journey Brown brings great speed, and he'll what's great about him is I think he'll be allowed to wean himself into the lineup. That's a big part of this. He'll be allowed to wean himself in. Micah Parsons, that's the best he's looked to me in the spring. He's been getting better every week. That's emblematic of what we saw on Saturday. He's getting better. Jesse Lucchetta, you didn't bring up his name, but again, same thing with Lucchetta. Every week, you feel like you're seeing a better player. This one thing that this game showcased, the scrimmage showcased, is they have on here obviously some. They've got a lot of athletes on this team. Donovan Johnson at corner. I mean, you saw Mac Hippenhammer. You saw KJ Hamler. So all of these guys during the course of this get out there, play, and I thought that was a great indicator for everybody. All right, so let's get to, because we got Greg Pickle on the show today as well, let's get to some of the interviews. Super Bowl champion Stefan Wisniewski talked with us during the course of the broadcast on Saturday. And so an opportunity to talk with the Eagles Super Bowl champion. We believe at some point here. But again, I mean, yeah, he actually was the honorary captain for the game.
Stefan Wisniewski's on the sideline. He had a great moment in Minneapolis. It was called winning the Super Bowl. Congratulations, Steph.
Thanks, guys.
Young offensive lineman, for example, you've got a guy like Michael Menet, who's out here he's been working with the first group. What was part of the learning curve of being an offensive lineman trying to get used to playing on this level?
Well, the biggest difference, obviously, high school to college is everyone you block is very big, very strong, very fast. In high school, you can really get away with kind of having some sloppy technique and just being bigger and stronger than everybody. But you get to this level and you really got to develop your technique, your footwork, your pass set. You got to learn as a pass blocker not to lean, or guys will just throw you on your face and go around you. Playing with better leverage, too, I think you can get away with playing high in high school. Those are just some of the basics. And then obviously mentally, there's a big adjustment. High school offenses are very simple, and then you're going to move to college and have a lot more to learn.
How long did it take to set in for you mentally after every stop along the way that you're a Super Bowl champion?
It kind of hits you in waves. I think the parade was kind of one of the bigger moments where it's like, oh my gosh, like there's 5 million people out here on the street screaming for us because we won. And that was one of the most fun days of my life, the parade, just kind of soaking it in, but just doing different events and being announced as Super Bowl champion. It's like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like I'm a Super Bowl champion. It's pretty awesome. Really, really blessed. Had an amazing year. Just grateful for being able to be a part of such a great team and really just had a blast with it.
Steph, what was going through your mind on that last drive when Brady had the football?
Well, they had it on their own 8 with about a minute left, and I'm a math guy. I'm like, all right, we got like a 90% some chance of winning here, but, it's Tom Brady, so maybe those numbers change if he's got the ball. And, man, when, he chucks up a Hail Mary from the 50, just thinking, please hit the ground, please hit the ground, please hit the ground. It feels like that ball's up there forever, right? And gets hit, like tipped around, knocked around. You're like, is it down, is it down, is it down? And you finally see it on the ground, like look at the double zeros on the clock, like look back at the ball, look back at the clock, and then you just look around and like, wait, it's over? It's real? We really won the Super Bowl? And it was an unbelievable experience running around with the confetti and getting the trophy, and got to lead the team prayer after the game, which was an amazing experience, and just a lot of really cool moments.
Well, you know those Philadelphia fans are going to expect you to repeat. You know that.
Hey, you know what? We got a lot of guys back, and we'll be certainly giving all we got to try to do it again. I'm excited. Probably most optimism I've had heading into a season in a long time, just knowing the team that we have and knowing what we're capable of. So,
Stefan Wisniewski of the Philadelphia Eagles. Opportunity to talk with him, obviously, on Saturday. But we also had an opportunity on Saturday to talk with Michael Robinson, NFL Network. And obviously, for me, it's always great to catch up with him. And he talked with us on Saturday at Beaver Stadium.
Derek Williams is standing by with a guy that made Derek look really good in his freshman year, Michael Robinson. Mike, it's great to have you with us, Derek, today.
What's up, guys? What's going down, man? What y'all doing up there?
It's about time, Michael. Jeez, great to hear from you.
Great to hear from you guys, too, man. As you know, I'm a big fan of both of you guys. You guys do an amazing job. I've learned a lot, especially Steve. You were one of my professors. You taught me everything I know.
Don't put that on your resume, okay?
Michael, you look at just the pure athletes. We talked about the draft coming up with the guys that were just honored here. You've taken a long look at those guys. What does that tell you about the talent that's been able to be amassed here at Penn State?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, what Coach Franklin has been able to do, especially the situation he walked into, to be able to get the caliber of athletes he's brought to our institution. I mean, it's just amazing. And then when you talk to these guys, I've had a great opportunity to have conversations with a lot of the guys, and they're great people. And to me, that's what the tradition here is all about. And that's what kind of connects all the generations, is that we recruit, we bring in great people with great personalities. And to me, that's the biggest thing of all.
Well, Michael, how would you have loved to have run this type of offense when you were here?
Man, do not get me started. I probably would have made $2 more million up front. You know, I probably would have been drafted in the late first or second, not the fourth. But
other than that,
yeah, you know, it's all good. Look, this offense is amazing. It's built for the movement type of a quarterback. I think Trace McSorley, he's done a great job with his motion. He's improved in that this offseason. And it's just all about getting better every day. And it seems like he came out on that first drive with the thought to get better, and he did.
Michael, it was interesting. I was talking to Jordan Hill, and he said that he went to his first meeting with the Seattle Seahawks, and he walked in there. This would be a 4 o'clock meeting. He was there at 3:45. The second guy that walked in was you. So what does that tell you about how you were taught at Penn State about the little things that end up being big things?
Well, Steve, Jack, you guys already know. Coach Paterno, I mean, you take care of the little things and the big things take care of themselves. And something like showing up to a meeting early is the little things, and the big things is that the coaches pay attention that you're there early. You get something extra out of being there early, and you make a name for yourself and create a career in the National Football League. So that's the little things, taking care of the little things, and the big things taking care of themselves. That's something that every athlete, no matter who coached them, seems to get when they come out of this football program.
You're special, always have been, always will be. You're doing great work at the NFL Network. Thanks so much for everything, Michael.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys, man.
Michael Robinson. We'll come back and we'll hear from Keegan-Michael Key in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth.
The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Here's Adam Purdy with another example of how Purdy Insurance is different.
I was at home one Saturday when I got a call from a client who had just been in an auto accident with a rental car in Canada. After confirming that everyone was okay, I checked his policy and assured him that we had the proper coverages in place. Within a few minutes, I had his claim called in and he was back to enjoying his vacation.
Purdy Insurance has been answering calls like this for over 90 years.
Give Purdy Insurance a call today at 800-677-2478 to see what we can do for you.
All right, welcome back. Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Adam Purdy on the show tomorrow to talk about the Truman H. Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament, which is a week from Wednesday at the beautiful Susquehanna Valley Country Club. He'll join us tomorrow to talk about that. Tony Knopp later in the week as well. Joe Susan coming up next half hour. We've heard from Michael Robinson from NFL Network and Stefan Wisniewski from the Philadelphia Eagles. We also had a chance to talk to Keegan-Michael Key. Okay, well, now we're going to go to the head coach of today's game, Keegan-Michael Key. It is great to have you back home at Penn State. Oh, he's just coming on now? As soon as we get him on. There he is.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Steve Jones, Jack Ham, talking with the coach in waiting, Keegan-Michael Key.
The coach in waiting. Steve Jones, nice to meet you. Jack Ham, an honor, an absolute honor.
Well, I saw you bring that team out at the beginning of the second half, and I'm falling out of my chair over here. I'm telling you, you have them all down. You have it down.
I do. It's my new lease on life. This guy's giving me I think I have a new partner. I think we're going to call the new partnership Key and Franklin. We can go Franklin and Key if he wants to go first. It's fine with me. I don't know. It's okay. I think we're Franklin and Key.
If you're on this campus, it's going to have to be in that order.
I think I'm right. Well made. Good point. Yeah.
What is it taking for you to just take those little nuances and turn it into something that's fun?
Part of it is what I learned here at Penn State. When I went to dialect class and accent class, you learn how to emulate different regionalisms. And he, James is from the great state of Pennsylvania, and there are certain vowel changes and syntactical things that he does that I've been able to pick up from my actual training, which was really, really helpful.
How much fun has this experience been for you?
This is a bucket list experience for me here. This is fantastic. I mean, I've been here before, but never in this capacity, and it really means a lot to me. The atmosphere is amazing as it always is. It's as amazing now as it was when I was at school here. It's just top notch. This is a top 10 experience of my life. It really is.
I have to ask you about the Times Square thing.
Yes.
About Georgia State and putting in the tuba player and so forth.
Yeah.
How long did it take to come up with something like that, or did you do it on the fly?
I kind of did it. I did it about 15 minutes earlier. So I was. Does that count as on the fly?
Yes,
it does. That's on a takeoff. It's not on the fly. It's kind of at the takeoff.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought it's something that actually occurred to me in my mind probably earlier in my life. It's like. I always used to watch people do stuff like this when there was a blowout.
Right.
And you go, is there a sixth string? Are there any sixth string players? And if so, who is that? Is it just the English department? Maybe it's just the English department. And so I think it kind of just came back to me during that. And then the day afterwards, Coach, after the Iowa game, which was amazing, right?
Right.
Coach texts me and he goes, I'm over here getting just a ton of bad texts from people. I don't know what's going on. These people thought I was you. And I'm like, hey, listen, some folks.
True story. I was sitting in the restaurant that morning, and he comes over and sits down next to me. James, he says, look at all the tweets I get. They think it's me. See, he says, Steve, you got to tell them I'm in Iowa.
I mean, I'm pretty good, but I can't be in two places at once. I mean, what are we doing here? Yeah,
that's exactly right.
It was really something else. So a testament, I guess. It was really sweet of him to say that. I'm like, I feel bad for you, James, but a testament to my talents, or at least my training from Penn State. You know.
My goodness. Okay, what's the best play you've called today?
The best play I called today would have been 63 Razorback Twins.
Yeah.
And then I called another play, which is called Pie, 48 Blueberry Twips, TWIPS, Twips.
Yeah.
That's when you have trips, but they're all cross-hatching past each other, and then they stop, and then the middle, the X receiver stops, does a number from the Thriller video, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Just show distraction, and the other guys, there's one guy on a slant, another guy on a jet. So,
that explains the moonwalk on that play.
Right.
Great. Hey, absolute pleasure for us to have you on. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us. Everyone is thrilled to have you back here. You an absolute credit to this place in every way, shape, and form.
My pleasure, Steve and Jack. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully we get to do it many more times.
We hope so, too. Thanks so much.
All right, gentlemen. Take care.
Keegan-Michael Key. All right, news bottom of the hour, and then Joe Susan here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to PurdyInsurance.com. Adam Purdy will join us on the show tomorrow to talk about the Truman H. Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament, which is a week from Wednesday at the beautiful Susquehanna Valley Country Club, to benefit the Greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA. We're looking forward to that. We'll have our show out there a week from Wednesday. Looking forward to it very much. Something about the off-season that I don't enjoy is quite simple. I don't like the fact that we don't get Joe Susan on every week during the off-season. But since spring practice is over, we do get an opportunity to reconnect. Coach, welcome back. It is a pleasure.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be back with you, and nice to enjoy a spring day for once.
Yeah, finally got one of those. Finally got one of those. All right, you go through spring practice. There are certain elements that you wanted to accomplish, Joe. Were you able to meet some objectives that showed progress? Because you and I both know that jobs are not going to be won in this thing.
You know, one of the things that we went into obviously transitioning from the weight room onto the field, and I think our players did a very good job of that. Team chemistry becomes an important thing, and this group has really worked hard together, and I think that is accomplished. And then probably as important, some of the new things that our staff researched in the off-season to apply in all three phases, but primarily offensively and defensively with the personnel that we feel we have to play to their strengths. And we've done that. Every minute on the field is critical, but with some of the new things we're going to do, it became more important, and I think we accomplished that in a big way.
Also added a couple coaches in as well. Dave Galante coming in from Rutgers to work with the offensive line, and also as a volunteer assistant coach, Matt Butterfield, to work with the tight ends and the fullbacks. What kind of initial impact have you seen from the two of them?
You know, in getting to know David, passionate man, we went through the interview process. Darnell Stapleton left us take another job, and sometimes that happens when you hire good people. But David came through the interview process as the top candidate, and very much a fundamental guy, but equally, I mentioned it earlier in the conversation, a passionate guy. And he really took over the offensive line, and having been an offensive lineman myself, those guys become attached to their coaches. And the biggest thing there is the chemistry he has now between himself and the young men that he coaches, and I think that's a real positive thing. He wants everything to be perfect, and sometimes it's not because somebody's playing defense, but I think that he is. I know that he's a very positive addition to our program, and the young men have rallied behind him. I made a decision that when I coached the tight ends last year, and they actually achieved in spite of me. But you know what I need to do as a head coach and what I need to do as a tight end coach. I made a decision that I was shortchanging both parts in certain aspects, and I felt it best to bring in a young man that would take over that position. Matt Butterfield did an outstanding job for us, and I think moving forward, because of the places he's been, he'll be a real positive addition, especially with some of the new things we're working with more in a detached tight end in certain situations, and he has a lot of he has a lot of experience in that offense. We're going to be more a pro spread offense this coming year, and the tight end will play attached, he'll play detached, he'll be on the move, he'll play in space. And we're fortunate we have really 4 young men that are going to be upperclassmen and incoming freshmen that can play those spots. And I think the addition to Matt as another source of brain power and another eyes in the box on game day will really help us.
There are individuals that are recognized as most improved for you as time goes. Connor Romango was recognized on special teams, but he also had a big interception in your 2-minute drill. Derek Bastink was named most improved offensive player, and Jimmy Sheehan was the most improved defensive player. What allowed those 3 to stand out? Because obviously you had many improved players in the spring.
I think one of the things that allowed Derek Bastink to come along was we had an injury situation where we knew going into the spring 2 of our starters would not be a part of the spring for the right reasons. They'll be back in August, and they're on their way to recovery. He had a lot of opportunities, and he played a variety of different positions along the offensive line, and he's a young man that through the early part of his career had to deal with some nagging injuries, and this time in the spring was the first time in his career where he's been 100% healthy, and it showed in his play. Connor Romango, obviously on the interception, big thing in the 2-minute drill, but the thing that he got, when they go onto the field in any 2-minute situation, our coaches on either side of the ball describe the situation and what we need, what an opponent might need. And in certain situations, if you catch it, go down to a knee, and he didn't. So the entire sideline was yelling at him, and when he came over to me, he understood what we were talking about. I was gentle in it, and that catch it, go down, the offense goes out, takes a knee. But sometimes that's hard to do. You have to set your ego aside. We call it downtime, and there's downtime in all 3 phases, offense, defense, and special teams. It applies at times in offense and defense more than it would in special teams. But sometimes when you're in a interception mode, you're thinking about, I'm going to take this all the way, and that's where you got to set your ego aside and take a knee, and everything is good from there. But it's a learning, it's a teaching experience and a learning experience for not just for Connor, but for the entire team. Then Jimmy Sheehan was more a role player last year and has really come along and going into his junior year. Got bigger, got stronger, and he's an example of the weight room transitioning onto the field. And we talk about that all the time. And it's good to see that. He's a young man that really works very hard, student of the game. And it's good to see who we awarded these awards. There are a couple other guys that came. It's nice when you have difficult decisions to make when you give these awards. But it's good to see all 3 of those guys be honored by our coaches, and obviously in front of their parents. And we had a recruiting weekend or a recruiting junior visit on Sunday. I keep saying Saturday, but I keep Sunday. We had a number of student athletes that are rising seniors and some rising juniors. And so it made for a crowd, which that's the other thing that in the way our spring practice works, because of the times we practice, there's often not many people at the practice, sometimes parents, sometimes recruits. And this was good because it gives our players a chance to play in front of people. And sometimes there's a little bit more anxiety, pre-event anxiety, within event anxiety, where they're playing in front of a crowd. And you can't really simulate that, but it's going to, when it happens, and obviously doing it in a spring game when you know you're going to win, it was a positive for a lot of our players. And I'm not sure about that score. The score is skewed. I think the guy keeping the score had a math issue, but it was fairly evenly matched, and opposed to what you saw on the scoreboard.
Right. You mentioned the crowd and the recruiting, which is where I was going to go to next. All told, among various classes, I've been told you had about 300 recruits there, families and so forth. You also had a really terrific crowd on hand yesterday as well. What does that say? It takes a while to establish a culture someplace. You've had to work hard to establish the culture you want, which also includes your players being your best recruiters, too, because then they get ingrained in what's going on. Now seeing it come to fruition where you've got that kind of group with that kind of crowd, with that kind of commitment from your current players, how do you feel about where Bucknell football is right now?
When you mention that, I get goosebumps. To see that group, but to also see the parents of our players, our present players. And then the other thing that was unique yesterday, that 20 of the 23 signees that will be first-year students at Bucknell were with us yesterday. And I wish some of them had pads on, but the thing that's unique about that is that they know, and we say this all along, Bucknell's a special place, but people make the place. And we have the right people in our program. We have the right people coaching our players. And for a lot of reasons, people are drawn to this place. And our players are our best examples. During the recruiting presentation, we have a player panel where we actually have 4 of our players spend. Yesterday was about 20 minutes with the entire recruit population asking questions with the coaches not being there. We have confidence that the message is going to be a strong one, but it's going to be the same. And it's not going to be a false message or a canned message. The kids speak from the heart, and that's because we coach from the heart. And I think that as parents and players get to know who and what we are, the trust of a family when they finally make a decision that this is what they want and this is where they're going to come, they understand that their son will be cared for the right way. And it was unique that 2 of our better recruits, both from different areas, kind of matched up yesterday after practice. And they were there. We got off the field right around 10 after 3. They were there till 5:30, just talking. And I keep telling them, I said, if you want to stay, you can stay, and we'll find a bed for them. But it's recruiting has become hard for these kids too. It's a process that is advanced in its pace. Social media really exposes everything that you do in recruiting, and the thing that I feel strong about in recruiting for this place is I'm recruiting a young man that has a strong concept of what is important. His priorities are set, and that you can have 2 priorities, you can't have 3. Academics, and we look for people that love the game. And when you recruit people that love the game, it makes your job as a coach easier. And we're always looking for leaders, and I keep saying this to my team all the time, the world needs leaders, and that's why they're here.
And that will lead into my last question, which was going to be about leadership, because leadership shows up in all different ways. It can show up in a practice. It can absolutely show up in a game. But this is the time of the year the strength and conditioning coach is going to have them between now and camp, and then they have to do things on their own. How important will your leadership be over the next month so that when they walk into camp, you've got a team as ready to start as you can possibly have?
That's the biggest thing. The summer has become the most critical part of your preparation in college football. And, for the period that they're away, that is hard because they're on their own. But I think the mindset of this group is one that they understand what they have to do. And then when they come back in the summer, we have 2 summer sessions. One is purely for upperclassmen, and then one is upperclassmen and first-year players. And, sometimes as you prepare going from your junior to senior year in college, the internship thing becomes a part of your life, and it's a reality in football at this level. Making sure that the upperclassmen are working hard so that when they get here, we don't skip a beat in preseason. And I feel confident in the leadership of this group. And one of the things we did this year, Steve, is we held off voting for captains, and we're going to do that in preseason. Part of it was related to some of the better players on our team were not active in the spring. And it happened to us last year with Joe DeFloria, and he wound up, the captains came to me and said, we want Joe to be a captain. I think that had he gone through spring practice, he would have been one of the captains that the team voted for. So we held off on that. And the leadership, we're going to challenge our leadership to be the people that are calling out people and making sure everybody works hard. But I think the work ethic of this group is a special one, and excited to see it. We need every minute we have, and preseason starts on the NCAA changed it a little bit, which is smart on their part. Starts on August 2nd, or actually August 3rd, and we're going to need every minute of time between now and then, obviously, to finish up the semester here, but then continue to get ready to be ready to play our out-of-season opponents in our league. And there's no easy days on our schedule, but we wouldn't want it any other way.
True pleasure, Joe. Always is every time you're on. Appreciate your time very much. Enjoy the off season, those few moments that you'll get, and can't wait for the season to roll around.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Sean. And if you find Kevin, tell him I said thanks.
I'm trying to find him. Must be busy today.
Right.
Actually working today.
He's actually working. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Joe.
You got it.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
We will come back with more in a moment, including the search for the King and Prince of Digital Media in a moment, as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK. All right, I actually read, I shouldn't say I saw it, one of the more bizarre answers I've ever heard in my life at the Tennessee football press conference. And I'll probably get into a little bit more in the next half hour after we hear from Matt Leon. Did you see Jeremy Pruitt, the Tennessee head football coach, who, by the way, has a career record of 0 wins and 0 losses? Now, he criticized his team. He doesn't like the way things have come together. Players holding other players accountable. And that's absolutely legit. Remember, I was just talking to Joe Susan about building your culture. And part of that culture is that when players become fully invested in it, they then start holding other players, especially younger players, to a standard that's been established in the program. And obviously Jeremy Pruitt's just starting there, and that hasn't happened with everybody yet. So that part I completely get. But he went on eventually. They had 65,000 at the game, at their spring game on Saturday. Penn State had an estimated 71,000. And they had 65,000 at their spring game. And he praised the people that were there. He also said some people certainly had legitimate excuses for not being there. But then he ripped a whole bunch of people who didn't show up. He said, you know who you are. Okay, let me explain something to Jeremy Pruitt. Do you know the commitment it takes for fans to be there? You got to decide to go. You got to go get the gas, get in the car, truck, whatever it may be. Then you got to drive, however long that may take. Could take a couple hours, could take an hour, could take 3, whatever. Then you got to go and you got to fight the traffic coming in. Then you got to go get a parking space. And you got to pay for that parking space. And then, okay, after you have a little bit of fun tailgating, now you've had to buy the ticket to get into the place. Right? Now, Penn State's case, it was obviously free. But a lot of places charge at least something. And like Ohio State gives like $5 and it goes to charity, All right? And then, oh, by the way, when it's done, they have to then drive back. All right? You need these people in the stands. Okay? So I would have put a note on his desk today, and it would have said this: cultivate. Wait, who the heck do you think you are? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge our fan base. Challenge them to do what? Find alternate entertainment options? I remember talking to a couple people for the Tax Slayer Bowl because he'd been the defensive coordinator there, and he was going back to Alabama because Kirby Smart had already been hired, and they're like, good. Yeah, that's what you wanted to hear. That was my first exposure to hearing, but not popular in Athens, which I doubt he cares in Knoxville.
You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury. You can hear us anywhere in the world with the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation app.